What's going on, everybody? Evan here with Evan's Detailing and Polishing. And what is this? What is this thing? Anybody got any guesses? Got some cool features. Got some bolts go in the back. Like a post that goes right there. Big old hole in the middle. For those of you that are wondering, this is a motorcycle chassis, and a vintage motorcycle at that. We do some work with a couple local companies that rebuild old chassis. We got one guy that just really likes shiny stuff, and he requires his people to bring everything to us to get polished. Super grateful for this guy. But I figured now is as good a time as any to show you guys how to polish out a motorcycle frame. So as you can see, I'll bring this in here a little closer. This thing really isn't terrible. I'm gonna spot sand some of these rougher spots in there with like some 400, and then I'm just gonna sand the whole entire thing with 600 grit. This guy likes his stuff to be really nice. And this thing's in relatively good shape. Most of it I could just cut and it'd be fine. But if I'm gonna spot sand one area, I may as well sand the whole thing and make it look the way I want it to look. This guy's never been picky on price. He's never beat me up on price. So I'm gonna do it the way I want it because I know it's the way he likes it. So yeah, as you can see, everything on this thing's been taken out. The customers had everything pulled out. There's a few bearings in here, so I'm going to be careful around those areas when I'm polishing. I don't want to take those bearings off, and I'm definitely not going to sand all the way up here up against the bearings because I don't want a chance wrecking his bearings on them. With these things being a vintage motorcycle, I'm guessing some of these bearings are a little harder to get, so they leave them in because popping them out usually breaks them. Now you can tape these off, you can put rubber plugs in, you can do all that stuff. I still prefer the old-fashioned way, just cram and ram, and just be careful. So this inside part here does not need to be polished inside that hole. I'm sure they're going to do some type of paint work in there. They usually do anyways. It's usually an offset color to help make it look that much cooler. But yeah, so let's talk about the products we're going to use real quick, and then we'll jump into the actual process. Alright, so today's going to be a little sketchy. We're going to be doing it on the floor. I'm going to be holding it with my feet. Dorothy, be proud. I was clicking my heels there for a second. But I'm going to hold it down with my feet. If I wasn't doing this on video, I'd take my shoes off and use my feet with just socks to get in there, but I'm not going to put you guys through that. Thank God we don't have smell-o-vision because that'd be terrible. But what I'm going to use is just 400 grit. 400 grit is going to be the spot sanding stuff, and then we're going to jump into some 600 grit. On my higher end stuff, I use this Sunmite. The difference between the Sunmite and the stuff that we sell, I don't know. Not many people can see the difference. I guess I'm a weird one. I've actually been getting really good results with the 600 that we sell on GoShineOn.com/shop. But this stuff, we're trying to use it up. It's the last of what we got, and this is a good place to use it. Once we get done with this, the sanding process, we're only going to use a DA today. So we're only going to use our Makita. You'll find the link for that down below. That's the only thing we're going to use for sanding. We're not going to use any rotary on this. Like I said, it's vintage. We don't want to leave any waves or dips or anything like that, so we don't want to risk doing that. So we're just going to use a simple DA. Be pretty straightforward and simple. But stay tuned, I'll grab something else. Whoa! Feel like Makita scissor hands or Makita hands Edward Makita hands, Evan Makita hands, I guess you'd call it. What we got right here, get some light on it. That's a red buff. On this vintage aluminum, I like to build up a little more heat on it. So I'll use the red buff with some brown compound, and then I'll jump into this buff that we've been testing out. It's a green buff with some prototype green compound. Hopefully you'll be seeing this soon on GoShineOn.com. But yeah, I'll show you guys that. So don't be alarmed. This green buff is very similar to the yellow and the pink buffs that we have on our website. Woo! These things get heavy when you're holding them straight up like that. Yeah, I'm a girl, I get it. But yeah, so stay tuned with that. I'll try to get the camera angled up here so that you guys can see it really well. But that's definitely how we're going to throw down today. The red buff's going to do all of our heavy lifting and get rid of all the sanding marks. And then the green, with the green component, is going to come in and just do a final finish. We may throw in a hand polish and a white wheel after that, but we'll see how it comes out. I'm guessing it's going to come out really well just from the green and green, and we're not going to have to worry about that. So let's go. Let's get grinding. So, I know you guys can still hear me. Sorry about the little bit of background noise. Heater's running, it's cold outside. Windy as hell out here today. So, definitely gonna be a little rougher. Let me try to move this up into frame a little better. But what I'm gonna do is I got it laying down on a blanket, so of course I'm not scratching one side or the other while I'm working on the opposite side. Now you could put your sander in a vise, or you could put it on some carpeting, or you could put your polishers in a vise and just stand there and buff this thing. I'm far more comfortable just doing it on the ground. Even though I'm 6'7", I'm tall, stuff on the ground's harder to get at, I still do a lot of my stuff this way. So what I'll do is I'll spot sand the sections that are rough, and then I'll light sand everything else because I want everything to match. So stay with me here, try to bear with me, this will probably get a little long. But I'll try to muscle through it, and then I'll try to zoom up and show you the spots after we get them done. So here we go. So I don't know if you just noticed that, but I'm trying not to work in just one spot. I'm trying to work an area. Working an area is the best thing you can do. If you sit and work just one spot, that one spot is going to leave a little dip or a wave in it. So I try to work an area. Like I have one little scratch up here that I wanted to get rid of. So what I did is I sanded that whole little section right there. This one right here, the scratch went from about here to there. But I worked this whole entire area so that it's all going to look the same. Now, same thing on this side. If I look, this little spot right here looks like maybe a seat's rubbing on it on a regular basis or something. I'm going to work that out. I'm going to sand that out. But there's also a couple little nicks and scratches down in here. So I'm going to work this whole entire area. Whereas before, I literally thought I was just going to be able to get away with 600. Now looking at it a little closer, I realize I have to spend a little more time with the 400. On parts like this, unless they're heavy cast, I usually don't go too low of grits on them. Especially this old aluminum, it almost always polishes up great. So I try not to go too far down on them because they just don't require starting off with a lower grit. A lot of times just a 400 or a 600 will do really well on this. So we get back at it here. So that was the 400. Super simple. We did just the spots that I wanted. Now we're gonna jump into the 600, and we're gonna hit the entire thing, as much of it as we possibly can, to get those 400 grits out. The red buff with the brown compound will buff out 400, but this is gonna be a museum piece for the guy. I want this thing to look as nice as possible. So I'm gonna spend a little more time on the sanding and just see if we can make it that much nicer. Alright, so now you can see a lot of that stuff is cleaned up, really nice. Need to do a little bit of sanding down on the bottom here now, get a fresh sheet of sandpaper. The top looks nice and covered. So I don't know if you're able to see this, I won't see it until I go to edit it. But hopefully you guys are picking this up on the camera. All the different angles that we're working on. I try to get the sander in all the little nooks and crannies. Yes, with a 5-inch, it's hard to get into a lot of those spots. There are a lot more specialized tools, some smaller sanders and stuff like that you can get into a lot more tighter spots. I don't have all that stuff, as you guys know. A lot of the stuff I do is semis. So a lot of the stuff I typically polish is big, flat stuff. But this also works. So just always keep that mindful. You don't always have to have the right tool to get the job done right. It does help. Alright, sanding's done. That literally took us maybe 5 minutes to do. Now some frames and swing arms and stuff like that are a little rougher and they do require more sanding, but these vintage ones are usually pretty smooth to begin with. A lot of them came polished from the factory. They just got years of wear and tear on them. So let's get into the polishing process. That's my favorite part. You're gonna see me buff on a bunch of different angles. We got some grooves here for some kind of bump stop system. So I'll have to buff one way on these and then come back and buff another. And then you'll see me do a couple different angles to get down into here, into some of these nooks and crevices. And yeah, I'll grab my respirator. Let's get this thing started. Boom. All right, here we go. Alright, now I know I said I wasn't going to take my shoes off. As it turns out, I had to. My big old shoes didn't want to fit in the spots I needed them to fit into. So, here we are. So, that was the orange and brown. As you saw, let me bring it in here a little bit. Show you guys we're starting to get some polish on there already. Starting to shine up. But now it's time to color. We need to throw some yellow and green on, or in this case, we've been testing out that green buff. So we're gonna have some green and some green to put on here. We're using a different type of green than we've normally been using. Of course, any green will work. Just this stuff, some stuff that we're testing out right now. Whatever your favorite product is what you should be using. You don't have to use what we use. You should be using whatever you're comfortable using, and especially the steps. As you start polishing and you start getting used to it, you're going to develop your own process and you're going to develop your own products that you like. These are just the products that I like. Of course, we sell everything that I use here in the shop on GoShineOn.com/shop, but check them out. You might like them too. Strap back up, go right back at it to color. Let's roll. Well, there's that. The card was full. I had to restart. I don't know how much you guys saw this, so I'm gonna have to wait till I edit. I guess I used the green with the green. I started here and I worked all the way around. So what I did is I started here, worked to the next panel, worked to the next panel. I kept it all going in the same direction so that I didn't miss it. This green I can color twice, so I'm just going to do that real quick in case and edit it together. So here we go. Try it again. Take two. So coloring this old aluminum does not take much at all. You can see we got a nice mirror finish on here. I don't know how well you're actually catching this on the camera, but here in person it looks absolutely perfect for old aluminum. If you're looking for that absolute mirror finish, a lot of times it doesn't happen on this old aluminum. It'll get really super shiny like this, but it won't get that absolute mirror perfection. Sometimes old aluminum wasn't made with just pure aluminum. Sometimes it was made with other metals mixed in. Especially anything that was made during the war eras are usually watered down aluminums. So I know this video took forever and it's probably gonna take forever to edit, and I know you guys are probably only gonna watch about 5 or 6 minutes of this. I'll try to speed up some of the parts to help you guys through the process, but I know there's a lot of talking in some of my videos. I want you guys to be as informed as possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, check out more of our videos on our channel. Click that subscribe button down below. And of course, thanks for stopping by. I'm truly grateful that you guys even watch this stuff. And hope to see you guys again soon. Deuces.